Well, hello and welcome to the Uncalled For. We have a great show for you tonight. Tonight, we're just going over some news things that we selected that's been happening throughout the week and further back too. Just things that I think we all thought we should be highlighted. So I think it's going to be a great show tonight. And I just want to say hello to everybody. Hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for coming. And I want to say hello to the panel. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, happy Sunday, Amy.
Happy Sunday.
May the Lord shine on your Sunday. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that.
Oh, please. I said happy Sunday, Dick. Come on.
No poop.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
I just needed a giggle because of the pre-show kerfuffles there, but we've almost got it nailed. It's getting close now.
We got it. Got it. Exactly. Just a little bit of mess ups, but not a problem.
Yeah. I don't know
normal.
about nailed. It's more like a sticky noted together, really.
There we go. Yeah, sticky notes are great, and sometimes that sticky just kind of fails, but that's okay. That's what happens to some of the stuff, so that's still good.
Yeah. So how was your week, Amy?
Doing good, thank you. It was fairly calm. Today we had a tornado watch, but that expired with no incident. We didn't even have any thunderstorms down here this morning, so that worked out very well. I'm happy. How about you?
Good, but I'm hearing that I'm in a mono, not stereo mode of talking, and everybody's like, I just got told, yeah, you're only in one headphone. What the hell's going on? I don't know. Okay, hold on.
You never know.
Oh, no, Dick, don't push a button. At least you're out there at an even tone on one. Let them deal with it. Stay back away from the button.
Yeah.
Back away.
Yeah, I put myself in mono, so it should be in both speakers now. I don't know what the hell happened there. It's Video Ninja, though. I mean, the thing we use for video conference, every time I even touch the browser, oh, Dick sounds like he's underwater again. It was ridiculous.
It was. He was swimming. Well, it is summer, so I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got some interesting stories to cover today, don't we?
Oh, interesting's a word. It's not the word I would use, but yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Although one of them is expected, actually. One I would say expected, and the other one is gross, and the other one's disgusting. So, I don't know.
That's accurate, though, you know.
Yeah, can you tell how my week was, Dick? Yeah, like don't
Exactly.
ask, don't ask, like don't ask. Move right on to Doug. Let's find out how his week was. How was your week,
Yes.
Doug?
Oh, yeah, busy. You know, I've been digging the foundations and laying some concrete and all that kind of stuff. They'll never
Got
find
bodies
the
to bury?
They'll never find
There
them.
we
Let's talk. I've got some I need to send you.
Yeah.
Oh, no room. I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
Damn. I was going to send some officials your way that needed to be.
Yeah, right? Yeah, sure. Like I thought we had an in there, Amy. Like somebody with drying concrete. Like
Well, you know, if you slice them up into very, very slim strips and chop them up a little bit and run them through the shredder, I could probably just mix them in with the concrete. That'd be fine.
Yeah, this is true. And you know what? I always wanted to test that acid bath theory from the acid bath killer. Like they just didn't do it right because they used to actually take the used bucket and dump it out in their backyard, like to seep into the yard, and it would leave like bits and pieces, and they're wondering how they got it. There's like a foot in the backyard. But I wanted to test that theory if we could like make a better combination to have it work a little bit better.
Gross. I can't imagine just dumping that stuff. Yeah, just toss that out in the backyard. Whatever. The lawnmower will fix up the rest of it.
Oh,
Gross.
oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, should we start with the tame one first, do you think? Or which one do you think we should start out with today?
I think Yeah, let's start out with the expected, because I think that affects
Yes.
everybody in one way or another. I mean, it affects
does.
everyone. It really does. I think you know which one I'm talking about. The expected one. We were waiting for
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, it was just more joined into this expected situation here. Yeah, so if you want to bring up that the Hollywood strike article, please, Dick. Yeah, so
Ready.
this is a good one, and yeah, it's definitely good. Yeah.
Yeah, no
It was
kidding.
expected. It's just there's just no words for it. It's just expected. Whatever. It's just
Yeah, you know it is, because they are criminally underpaid in some areas. Like, I was surprised the more I checked into it. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, it didn't give me the article anymore. Okay.
Yeah, this affects one of our own. I mean, DK right now, his main income stream is about to dry right up.
Yep. And they're talking about striking till the end of the year. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry about that. And they're doing it united, like screenwriters and actors. Like, the big trouble. Because usually it's one or the other, right, Dunk? I don't remember one with both of them.
There has been a few times. When they've both gone on strike, but it's not been very often. But in my situation, okay, they're going to go on strike. Productions will start up when they've decided to finish it. But I'm in post-production, so I won't see anything for 6 months after they've decided to go back to work. So you're talking about maybe a year, where I might not see any work,
at least.
Wow.
And I have no idea how I'm going to get through that.
Yeah, what do they do for you usually if they all go? If they just not work,
Nothing.
Is your position unionized also, like most of these others in the industry?
There are some. There's a kind of visual effects union, but it's not very popular. But it wouldn't be able to do anything anyway. The only thing they would do is go on strike themselves.
Wow, in support, right?
Yeah. But
which means less money for everyone again.
If you do that, would that not make the industry want to settle faster?
No, not really. Because I don't care. It just means got less people to pay. But it's all. But it doesn't really make any difference to them, because if there's no productions, then there's no visual effects. So it really makes no difference to the industry whatsoever, as far as they're concerned, if we go on strike. But we can't. I'm a freelancer anyway, and independent, so I'm not unionized, so it doesn't make any difference. And there's a lot of people like me.
So you're more like a contractor / consultant, sort of. So so no matter what you do, it's kind of not. So you're on your own, almost.
I'm like a gigging musician, basically.
Oh,
right. Per diem. So you don't really have a contract per se. So it's kind of hard to strike against that.
Yeah. No, I end up signing contracts, but that's basically to protect them, not to protect me.
Exactly. If anything does go into production, then you're at least free to do something. You're not pressured to not accept the job because you're not unionized, right? And
I'm never pressured to accept the job, except you just take the job that comes along. You don't pick and choose.
Yeah. But what I mean is hopefully there will. I mean, in almost all strike situations, there's always some part of the industry that still ignores the strike and tries to carry on or take advantage of it. That's just at least in America, that's how it is. I don't know about over there, but here in America, because there's a strike, there'll be people trying to profit off of it and actually reduce their costs and still putting stuff out.
Oh yeah. No, what's interesting in visual effects terms, when this sort of thing happens, there are these big, huge facility houses, and what they basically do is offer their services for next to nothing, just so they can keep the lights on. Because if they have no money coming in, there's a huge facility closes down. So what they normally do is undercut everybody and each other to try and get what minimal work there is, just to keep bums on seats and I say, keep the heating on and the lights on. So it just gets horrific.
Yeah,
but that's exactly it. That's exactly it. We have a super chat, a super sticker. It says, wow. And that's from Lynn S for Canadian $6.99. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support. We appreciate it. Thank you. So, yeah. So, this is the article here. It says SAG strike, actors join writers on Hollywood picket lines. And Jason Sudeikis, Susan Sarandon, and thousands of other actors have joined screenwriters for Hollywood's biggest strike in more than 6 decades. Actors will not appear in films or even promote movies during the stoppage. Major films in production, including the Avatar and Gladiator sequels, may be affected by the shutdown. The actors are joining writers who walked out in May, concerned about pay, working conditions, and the industry's use of artificial intelligence. Brian Cox, the lead actor on HBO's Succession, told the BBC the strike could last until the end of the year. The whole streaming thing has shifted the paradigm, the Scottish star told BBC Newscast. They're trying to freeze us out and beat us to the ground because there's a lot of money to be made in streaming, and the desire is not to share it with the writers or the performers. Talks for a new contract with studios and streaming giants broke down on Thursday with the Screen Actors Guild, accusing the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers of being unwilling to offer a fair deal. About 160,000 performers stopped work at midnight, joining the 11,500 members of the Writers Guild of America, who walked out on the 2nd of May. By noon on Friday, union members and their supporters are gathered outside the offices of major studios and streaming services in Los Angeles, New York, and other cities. The demonstrations have received support from some of the biggest celebrities in the movie and television business, including the stars of the upcoming Oppenheimer movie, who walked off the red carpet on Thursday night.
Wow.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan says he will not make films during the strike, and the strike impacts films and shows beyond Hollywood. What happens next? They're going into what happens next as Hollywood grinds to a halt. The SAG strike. Why are Hollywood actors on strike? The two guilds want studios and streaming services to offer better pay, increased royalties, higher contributions to their pension and health plans, and safeguards on the use of AI in the industry. Productions likely to be affected include sequels to the Avatar, Deadpool, and Gladiator franchises, as well as upcoming seasons of shows such as Stranger Things, Family Guy, and The Simpsons. Red carpet premieres, promotional interviews, and events, including the Emmys and Comic-Con, have already been halted, rescheduled, or scaled back. The strike action is driven in part by an uncomfortable transition to the era of digital streaming, as well as by broader technological changes. AI will affect everybody, Academy Award winner Susan Sarandon told the BBC from a picket line in New York.
Yeah, because she's an expert on AI.
Yeah.
Well, she is one of the actors that will be replaced by AI. I mean, we have to really, I understand AI is new technology and we want to embrace it. But with all new technology, just like when we industrialize for factories and all here in America, we have to understand that millions of people are going to displace from their jobs, including actors and actresses. Yeah,
The AI is not going to replace actors.
Well, it sure did in Black Mirror. Like, they did a whole show. Just saying. Like, they won't. It can though. Like, if you could take someone's digital form and make it do anything, why do you need the person?
That's not how it works.
No, some AI does. It is leading towards that. Yes, CGI can do that, though. We see it all the time in gaming.
CGI, but soon there would be, I think what you guys are talking about does tie in, because right now it takes quite a few people to resurrect Grand Moff, whatever, from Star Wars to be in the new film. But considering what AI can already do with us just playing with pictures and stuff, how long is it before,
Exactly.
That's
what I'm thinking. I'm not saying it's there right now. Dunk, I'm not that uneducated about it. I realize it's not there right now, but it's kind of putting blinders on if you don't actually see how those technologies and what's going on with gaming, with CGI, and what's going on now with AI, and how they're actually adding so much more to it. How once those two merge, there's a serious problem for a lot in the industry.
Not for me, because someone's got to do the AI, so I'll do it.
No, but sooner than later, the AI becomes a program and it's just a couple of buttons or even automatic. So if they can, you know what I mean? Like, I understand what you're saying. And I'm glad that your job won't be affected, because I hate to think that anyone I know is going to be that drastically affected by it. But we have to actually see what they're worried about, because they've got good concern. They've got good reason to be concerned.
I don't think they do. I really don't.
But I will, like, I can understand why it's not just the writers and the actors are getting on board and stuff, because I think everybody's trying to say this industry is supposed to be filled with creatives, not a machine that spits it out for us.
Exactly, Dick.
Right?
Because that's the point. Didn't we just do a show where ChatGPT was writing screenplays and shows, and yet people and people are actually saying that this isn't going to affect the industry, when you don't need a person with skill to write the screenplay. Yes, the quality will be different, but we all know in Hollywood, quality isn't always the issue, right?
God, not even close.
Okay, it is get the shit out there. Am I wrong? Like, it's get it out there. Let's make money. It's quick. Let's go. And in that case, that's a real threat. I mean, I'm still going to say that we've got to look at the real threat to the screenwriters and the actors, because of the ChatGPT is writing screenplays right now.
Yeah, but look at all the shit. Or looking at all the shit that came out recently, or the past few years. I thought the writers were on strike anyway. But anyway, I made a snarky comment, interrupted Amy. So sorry, Amy.
I'm sorry, Amy.
I didn't take over.
Yeah.
That's okay. Sure. And just to continue on her quote, Susan Sarandon also said, there's definitely always been the feeling that if this isn't solved now, how do we ever solve it in the future? She said, if you don't have the foresight to put something in place for the future, then you're screwed. It's clear that nothing is going to change from the top down. It's going to be up to us at the bottom.
I don't know if Susan can say us at the bottom, but I get what she means.
Yeah. That's what she's thinking of, the little people. Hey, that's a step in the right direction as far as humanity is concerned sometimes. Yikes.
So sorry to interrupt you again, though. This is irrelevant because there's been many movies where they used it wasn't AI, but they did use computer systems to build massive crowd simulations.
Yes.
And so are we saying, it's unfair to the 400,000 orcs and giants and all those people that lost out on their jobs? No one was complaining then, but now all of a sudden it's a problem.
Well, they were actually, because there's a lot of little people that were in the industry that no longer are needed. But I mean, I get your point.
Well, you got Hugh Grant playing Oompa Loompa now, so there's no little people involved. So they're losing out onto Hugh Grant. They're not striking about him.
Okay, well, if you don't want to see the serious point, I get it, but still, there is.
That is a serious point. That is a serious point.
Your point actually proves that yes, thousands of extras are no longer needed. Thousands of people that used to have a job are no longer needed because of that technology. So to actually say that this is not going to affect others' jobs in the future, I mean, you basically just proved that it's heading towards that way. Sorry.
No, I'm proving a point. A film would not be made.
Well, true. I mean, they have a right to cut budget, but to cut everybody out, of course, those people are going to object, and they're going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to balance it. There must be a middle ground. That's what I think the strike is going to try to go forward. Everybody wants everything to be cost effective so that it comes out and they still produce good film, good entertainment for us all.
But that's like saying, well, if I'm going to do a big sea battle, you're not allowed to use models. You've got to use full-size ships because you're putting shipwrights out of work.
It's just not, though, dude. You're taking it so far. Come on.
You really are. And you know what? If they don't speak up, they won't get heard. And they're just going to go capitalistic right over all their asses. And it's going to happen because hopefully, no, they can't get everything they want. Okay. There is still going to be AI. There's still going to be CGI. There's still going to be all that. They have a right to cut their costs. But they don't have a right to cut everybody out without some squeaking of the wheel going on and people to complain about it. Hopefully they can find a middle ground to where I want to see actors. I don't want to see a mannequin walking around saying the parts. I don't want to see that.
And a lot of people won't,
but I will concede that I don't care if it's one orc or 10,000 orcs. I don't care if they I would like to see some difference. I don't want to see the same orc 1,000 times. Maybe like the same 25 orcs. 1,000 times. I agree that to make production better and to cut costs, that those things are necessary, and they didn't need 1,000 extras. I could concede to that for that, because at least I had the other actors like Legolas and everybody else there that I could see the expressions on their faces and admire their craft.
And that's why you'll go to the cinema to see them and not the AI ones. It's the production companies are going to lose out if they go AI, not the audience.
Actually, I have not that kind of faith in humanity anymore, Dunk. I think that the majority of us are just going to go with it and be sheep, and they'll go anyway for entertainment, because a lot of them aren't supporting the real creative people anyway. They just want mass production, this, that, and the other thing, and they don't care.
No, I'll definitely agree with that.
All right, so we can't depend on them to actually demand quality. They're not.
I see.
They want mass production. They just want new, better, faster, quicker. Just put something in front of my eyes before I blink. That's what they want. That's what they think they need. But I'm gonna say no. I don't know. Yeah. Exactly. I'm sorry, Amy. You want to carry on? I had no idea this was going to be this passionate. I had no idea. But hey,
and this is the same one.
At least it's genuine and not crap.
Exactly.
I mean, that's genuinely how I feel about the whole damn thing.
Exactly. And this one is actually pretty good, and it's really interesting to see, and it's a good read, and it's something to learn about, and it's it's good. So here we go. It says both writers and actors have complained that they make far less money than they used to make, and that contracts have been undercut by inflation. For actors, pay for individual roles has declined, forcing them to seek several more roles to make the same amount of money as they did a few years ago. Writing contracts have become shorter and more perilous, with payment often not included for writers' work on revisions or new material. We're being victimized by a very greedy entity, Fran Drescher, the current SAG president, said on Thursday. I am shocked by the way the people that we have been in business with are treating us. The failed negotiations between the unions and the AMPTP marks the first tandem strike in the industry since 1960. The last actors' strike in 1980 lasted 10 weeks. A third union, the Directors Guild of America, is not participating in the strike after successfully negotiating its own contract in June, but the group has said it strongly supports those who are picketing. With the prospect that the strike could roll on for months, cinemas could face problems and viewers may be left with nothing new to watch, bar reality TV and live sport. Sorry. I just had to inject a little opinion in there. In a statement on Friday, the White House said President Biden believes all workers, including actors, deserve fair pay and benefits. The president supports workers' right to strike and hopes the parties can reach a mutually beneficial agreement, spokeswoman Robin Patterson said. Actors represented by SAG's sister union in the UK, Equity, must continue to work as normal due to UK employment laws. That includes stars of HBO's House of the Dragon. The union has, however, told U.S. companies that it will be keeping a very close eye on any attempts to move U.S. productions to the UK. So very interesting. Yeah, so they're going to keep an eye out for that, too.
So will DK, because that could mean jobs coming back home.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Oops.
Except they're not going to allow it.
Yeah, no, they'll be hard on that too, man. That'd be a big deal, right?
That's exactly it. That's going to be a problem too.
See, the funny thing is about the entire strike is none of them have said stop going to the cinema and stop watching television, because if you wanted to to support the actors in this and the writers in this strike, that's the way to do it. That's the way you hit the production companies really hard. Is if you just don't go to the cinema.
Yep.
Then they'll listen. Now, do you know why they're not doing that? Because they've already got contracts and they've got residuals, so they've got their money coming in.
That's right.
If you go to the cinema, they don't want you to not go.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It's a really big thing, right? Plus, there's the side effect of don't go to the cinema, and you just train more people not to even bother caring and just consume from home where it's cheaper and stuff. And then, profits will dwindle even more.
Yeah, and then you will be watching AI produced movies from Netflix because whatever.
It's like a vicious circle.
It is. It is.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't go to the big theater now for anything except for like a big action film or something that I need to see on a huge screen. If I know anything that's like a drama or a comedy, I wouldn't go to the theater to see it.
No.
Well, I think post COVID, cinema's numbers obviously, cinema attendees dropped during COVID and down to nothing, and it became the new normal just to get a big fucking huge telly or a projector.
It is in my area. In my area, 10 cinemas closed. Out of the 15 we had in the area, we have only 5 left.
Well, we've had 2 huge cinema chains closed down the last month in this country.
Wow,
huge ones. But then when it's $10 for a mug of Coke and some bloody popcorn, what do you expect?
Exactly.
Oh, that's exactly it. True. We lost the only one in our area. It's the only one in our area for quite a distance too. We have to go to Lewiston if we want to see a movie now. Ours closed. It was the pandemic didn't help, and then some renovations had to be done, and then after a while they gave up. They said, no, we're not going to. There's no point. We're just not getting the business, and they closed and out they went. So we don't have a cinema anymore again.
Bummer.
It's the second time.
And not to mention that ticket prices have just gone through the roof. You might as well. You're practically paying the same price to go and see a live show in bloody Broadway.
Yeah, and you get dinner with the theater, right?
Yeah. A lot of the times you can. It's a good thing.
It's more like an event, but now, going to the cinema is actually it's quite costly. So it is quite the event without all
especially if you want to take the family,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's actually now cheaper to go see, like a play or something like that. We have the Main State Music Theater here, and sometimes you get a little bit more enriched from doing that, even
in a
way.
It's
cheaper than a movie, yeah.
I am glad about that, actually, if it's cheaper, because more people will see it. Because that actually, I wish more people would actually go and watch, a Broadway play, or go and actually see the actors raw, unscripted, unedited, in their craft. I think that is one of the most brilliant ways to see something.
I'll tell you what, you've never seen Avatar 3D properly until you've seen it by the Walton-on-Thames Amateur Dramatic Society.
Yeah, wow.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm sitting here quiet with my mouth open, going, "What? What? Okay." Oh,
yeah. But there's nothing left.
Well, then again, they did something like Cats on Broadway. And they did Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, which was very terrible.
Ironically, Cats on Broadway was better than the movie.
Well, you're just proving the point that people want to see all of this impossible stuff versus CGI, and they're not really going to give a shit what we put out there.
The Cats thing was just a bad movie in so many ways, and it was real people. It was real people. There was CGI. It was just to try to make them bit more catty.
It should have just left it on Broadway, to be honest, because it was brilliant on Broadway. It was. It actually,
it could have been brilliant in the movies too. It was just done in a really weird way.
Well, if you want to talk transitions, what about what they did with Rent? Rent on Broadway was huge, and then the movie was actually really good. They did a really decent job, but I don't think there was a lot of CGI in that. Yeah, they did. If you see the movie for Rent, it was very well done. Considering what I saw on Broadway and then what I saw in the films, I would say I was happy. It wasn't exactly the same, but it's hard to keep the feel and to keep the message, and they did. And so I'd have to give them credit for that. Yeah.
Excellent. I like this comment. Thank you, Jess. 115. I like how Amy Hogan lights the fuse and then just watches the show.
I know. She's like, yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh, and thank you. Nicholas Lamar Suter for $5 American says, we both know that's not your suit, Dick.
Yeah, he's trashing the avatar. He says, that's not Dick. That is not Dick. You see there? He's like, that's not Dick. Is that really you, Dick? Talk. Are you there?
That's his courtroom suit.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
Exactly.
We have multiple versions of Dick. There we go.
Yeah.
It's just one of them. Well, I don't know. Is there much left of this one, Amy?
That one's all done.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Are we
yeah.
settled, Doug? Have we done both sides of the debate on this one enough for them?
Yeah,
I
you know
think.
me. I could probably rabbit on about this for ages, but no, let's move on.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
in final on it, I hope you're going to be okay and keep us
Me
like.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
I'm out. I'm putting myself about, putting on, trying to get on all the the forums and the WhatsApp groups and all that kind of stuff. Poor little me, I didn't get any work. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Nick says he looks comfortable in that suit. He must be in court a lot. Nick, stop! We have to concentrate up here.
Exactly. We also got a donation for $6.28 Canadian from Greg Watkins. It says, "Boom Boom." Thank you so much, and that'll go directly to the Boom Boom Fund. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. So that'll be good too. Um, yeah, so it's an interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens this summer because usually this is a
I know everyone out of school, college break,
yeah.
everyone on
Yep.
takes their vacations around now. Part of the things you do, I don't know about you, depending on where you go, at least one night at a vacation, you go see a movie or some kind of entertainment like that. It's going to affect everything, huh? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking too. So, yeah, not good. So things will recover again. It has in the past and it will again. So, hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed for Dunk too. So,
Yes.
that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So, shall we move on to the next story? And which
which
one
one?
would you like to do? Would you like to do the
They're both pretty.
they're both pretty
I'm going to let
pretty-
you choose. Yeah.
Okay.
Choose.
Sure. How about we do the Huw Edwards? I'm not sure if I'm
Oh,
pronouncing
yeah.
that name
Oh
correctly,
my
but-
god! Oh my god!
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go with Edwards. Now that we know it's him, or the accused,
Exactly.
allegedly. Yes.
Exactly.
No, it's not allegedly. It is him. His wife came out.
Okay.
Yeah, his wife came out and said something about that. So yeah, that should be
Wow. Okay. But I don't. Well, okay. I'm gonna let them know what it's about first. But
Yeah,
yeah.
get you can let Amy light the fuse first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go for yeah.
All right. So the first story is BBC presenter corporation in touch with police over explicit photo allegations. And this is the story that would happen as of the 9th. So we have the BBC says it has been in touch with police following claims one of its presenters paid a teenager £35,000 for sexually explicit photos.
Oh.
Yeah. The corporation said it is working as quickly as possible to establish the facts and that the presenter, who it has not named, which we now know, has been suspended. Claims the presenter began paying the young person when they were 17 were first reported by The Sun on Friday. Police said the BBC was in contact, but no formal allegation has yet been made. BBC News understands the corporation is meeting with the Metropolitan Police on Monday to discuss the matter. Neither The Sun nor the BBC are naming the man involved. In a news story published by The Sun on Sunday evening, the paper claims that the presenter made what it calls 2 panicked calls to the young person after the Sun report came out. The presenter allegedly asked the young person, "What have you done?" and asked them to ring their mother and get her to stop the investigation, the paper said. In a statement earlier on Sunday, the BBC said it was working as fast as possible to establish the facts in order to properly inform appropriate next steps. The BBC first became aware of a complaint in May, it said. New allegations were put to us on Thursday of a different nature, and in addition to our own inquiries, and we've also been in touch with external authorities in line with our protocols. It added that the corporation expected to be in a position to provide a further update on the process in the coming days. The Sun also said the family of the young person was upset by the BBC's latest statement. They say no one from the corporation rang them for a proper interview after the initial complaint, the paper reports. BBC's culture editor Katie Rizal pointed out that we don't know the truth of the allegations. She said the corporation's statement appears to suggest its initial investigation may have been hampered by a lack of response from the family. In a statement released on Friday, the BBC said it has processes in place to deal with the allegations, and part of this is actively attempting to speak to those who have contacted us in order to seek further detail and understanding of the situation. If we get no reply to our attempts or receive no further contact, that can limit our ability to progress things, but it does not mean our inquiries stop. If at any point new information comes to light or is provided, including via newspapers, this will be acted on appropriately, in line with internal processes," added the BBC. In an email to staff, BBC Director General Tim Davies said such allegations were taken incredibly seriously. He described the situation as complex, and the corporation was working rapidly on ascertaining the facts and to ensure that these matters are handled fairly and with care. Mr. Davy also condemned unsubstantiated rumors being made online about some presenters working at the BBC. A spokesperson for London's Metropolitan Police said the force has received initial contact from the BBC in relation to the claims, but no formal referral or allegation has been made. They said more information was needed before the police can decide what further action should follow. The timeline so far is, on Friday the 19th of May, the young person's family complained to the BBC about one of its presenters' behavior, according to The Sun. On Thursday the 6th of July, allegations of a different nature are put to the BBC, according to Director General Tim Davie. On the Friday, the 7th of July, The Sun publishes claims that a BBC presenter paid a teenager £35,000 sterling for sexually explicit photos. On Saturday, the 8th of July, The Sun on Sunday publishes more details of the presenter's alleged actions. On Sunday, the 9th of July, the BBC confirms the presenter has been suspended and that the corporation is in touch with the police. It comes.
Sorry. Can I just stop you there for a second, Amy? Do you have how much longer is this report go on to? Because I've got to say that
Not very much longer.
Following this, it's like 60% of what's in that is absolute bullshit. It's not true at all. As it all came out, more comes out over the next week or so. A lot of it is just absolute fabrication from The Sun.
Wow.
I just thought I'd just point that out there.
Exactly. So should I go into the latest article we have instead, maybe, and just kind of go into that and maybe see if it clears up anything? Because there is a timeline one about the allegations against Huw Edwards. So I'll
3
go
days
into
ago,
that. Yeah, that one would probably be the better one. Let's see.
Yeah, because it turned because the Sun was claiming there was a panic phone call to the teenager. The Sun wasn't even in touch with the teenager. They weren't even talking. They weren't even talking to him. They were only talking to the mother. And the teenager had a lawyer come out saying everything my parents are saying is bullshit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very
yes, stuff was going on between them. Yeah,
right.
But he was 7. There was nothing illegal. He was 17, and and Hugh's, well, God knows how old he is. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that they seem to be blowing up out of proportion. But anyway, I'll let you carry on before I give you my thoughts on it.
Sure. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the article that's the timeline, how allegations against Huw Edwards unfolded. So here we go. Huw Edwards has been named as the BBC presenter at the center of days of allegations and speculation. The Sun newspaper first reported that the presenter, who was not named, was alleged to have paid a young person for sexually explicit photos. Other people have since alleged inappropriate contact. And here is a timeline of events so far. In April, the parents of the young person contacted South Wales Police. The force said the information related to the welfare of an adult and that no criminality was identified. On Thursday, the 18th of May, a family member went to a BBC building to make a complaint about the behavior of a BBC presenter, according to the corporation. Okay, on Friday, the 19th of May, the family member made a 29-minute call to the BBC's audience services team, which then referred it to the BBC's corporate investigations team. They decided the complaint didn't include an allegation of criminality, but did merit further investigation. It was very serious, according to Director General Tim Davie. The investigations unit said they emailed the complainant to ask for more information so they could verify the claims and carried out checks to verify the identity of the complainant. On Tuesday, the 6th of June, the corporate investigations team had received no reply to the emails, so tried to call the mobile number provided by the complainant. They said the call didn't connect. However, the Sun later reported that the family say no one from the corporation rang them for a proper interview after the initial complaint. The BBC said no additional attempts to contact the complainant were made after this date, but the case remained open. On Thursday, the 6th of July, the Sun newspaper told the BBC via the corporate press office about allegations concerning Edwards. According to the BBC, the claims made by the Sun contained new allegations which were different from those received by the investigations team. The BBC said this was the first time Mr. Davey or any executive directors were made aware of the case. They set up an incident management group to lead the response. A senior manager spoke to the presenter about the allegations, and Edwards first learned of the allegations on this day, his wife said. The BBC said it was agreed that he shouldn't appear on air while the allegations were being investigated. When later asked why the presenter was not spoken to sooner, Mr. Davey said, "You don't take that complaint directly to the presenter unless it has been verified." On Friday, the 7th of July, the Sun's first story was published about the mother's claims that an unnamed BBC presenter paid their child tens of thousands of pounds for explicit photos over 3 years, beginning when they were 17. That raised questions about whether the behavior was illegal. The paper quoted the mother as saying the young person used the money to fund a crack cocaine habit and that she was worried her child could wind up dead.
Ouch.
Yeah. The young person sent a WhatsApp message to the paper on this evening denying the claims, saying their mother's statement was totally wrong and there was no truth to it, according to a later letter from their lawyer. In its first public statement, the BBC said any information would be acted upon appropriately in line with internal processes. The BBC also made contact with the Metropolitan Police. On Saturday, the 8th of July, the Sun published further allegations, quoting the mother as saying the presenter was pictured in his underwear, ready for my child to perform for him. The BBC said it received some materials from the family member regarding the complaint on this and the following day. Meanwhile, following speculation about the star's identity on social media, BBC presenters including Gary Lineker, Jeremy Vine, Ryland Clark, and Nikki Campbell denied involvement to publicly clear their names. On Sunday, the 9th of July, the BBC said it had suspended a male staff member and was working as quickly as possible to establish the facts in order to properly inform appropriate next steps. The Sun reported that the presenter allegedly made 2 calls to the young person and asked them, "What have you done?" and appealed to them to call their mother to stop the investigation. On Monday, the 10th of July, representatives from the BBC met detectives from the Met Specialist Crime Command, but there was no investigation at this time. In a letter to the BBC, the lawyer representing the young person at the center of the original allegations disputed their mother's account of events, saying the allegations reported in the Sun newspaper are rubbish. The letter claimed that the young person sent the newspaper a denial on Friday, but that it proceeded to publish their inappropriate article. In response, the Sun said it had reported a story about 2 very concerned parents who made a complaint to the BBC about the behavior of a presenter and the welfare of their child. Their complaint was not acted upon by the BBC, and it had seen evidence that supports their concerns, the Sun added. It's now for the BBC to properly investigate. The parents told the Sun that they stood by their account. The stepfather was quoted as saying the allegations were originally put to the BBC for an hour. On Tuesday, the 11th of July, during a press conference to launch the BBC's annual report and an interview with Radio 4, Mr. Davey gave more details of the corporation's response. The Director General said he wanted to examine whether the BBC raises red flags quick enough when such complaints are made. The BBC accepted that there were lessons to be learned following this exercise, and the organization's Group Chief Operating Officer will assess whether protocols and procedures were appropriate. On Tuesday afternoon, another young person told BBC News they had felt threatened by the presenter. The individual in their early 20s said they were contacted on a dating app and pressured to meet up, but never did. When the young person hinted online that they might name the presenter, they were sent abusive messages. Jeremy Vine said the presenter should now come forward publicly because the new allegations will result in yet more vitriol being thrown at perfectly innocent colleagues, and the BBC is on its knees with this. The Sun alleged that the presenter broke COVID lockdown rules to meet a 23-year-old who he met on a dating site. The paper also published what it said was an Instagram chat, including between the presenter and a 17-year-old, in which the presenter sent messages, including love heart emojis. On Wednesday, the 12th of July, detectives ended their assessment of the details and decided there was no information to indicate that a criminal offense had been committed. Edwards' wife, Vicky Flynn, named him as the BBC presenter at the center of the allegations. She said she was doing so primarily out of concern for his mental well-being and to protect our children. Edwards was suffering from serious mental health issues, she said. As is well documented, he has been treated for severe depression in recent years. The events of the last few days have greatly worsened matters, and he has suffered another serious episode and is now receiving inpatient hospital care, where he'll stay for the foreseeable future. Once well enough to do so, he intends to respond to the stories that have been published. To be clear, Huw was first told that there were allegations being made against him last Thursday. Mr. Davies sent an email to staff saying an internal investigation would continue now police were no longer involved. The Sun said it had no plans to publish further allegations and would provide the BBC team with a confidential and redacted dossier containing serious and wide-ranging allegations which we have received, including some from BBC personnel. The BBC reported fresh allegations of inappropriate behavior by Edwards toward junior staff. 2 current workers and 1 former member of staff claimed they were sent messages that made them feel uncomfortable. So, wow. That's an interesting timeline.
That's a heavy topic.
It
sure is. But what a mess too, because there were accusations and there were denials, and then there were people coming forward, and even his own wife came forward to identify him. And
well, if his wife came forward and identify him, how can they just say it's not a thing?
Well, what did he do wrong?
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing.
Why is she coming forward?
Because I think basically Huw wanted it to actually be known, but he's in bloody hospital, so
right.
It's been put on her to come forward.
True. Yep. True. And that's why it's alleged before. And but I can understand why people were probably leaning towards not believing the BBC's actual investigating of it after everything that happened with Seville, for years. So I don't know. Yeah, it seems like they just made a big thing, and the Sun is not exactly like you said.
I mean, let's talk about who made the complaint. It wasn't the person.
Right. It was someone else.
You would probably say the victim. It wasn't him. It was the parents, and the so-called victims come forward and say they're talking shit.
True.
Exactly.
True. And the victim is of an age he would know his own mind. It's not a very, very young child who would not, And are there any other circumstances regarding the victim that would prevent him from saying if it was true?
Who knows?
Yeah.
No idea.
There's not enough information yet. It's something that's, it's still ongoing because that person hasn't named themselves, but their lawyers have made statements on their behalf. It's just,
and it's kind of interesting that this young person has had to get a lawyer involved with their parents. When that when that's happening, that's not a good sign of a good parent and child relationship.
Yes, there's something going on there. The parents did something without his just doing what they wanted without him going along with it. It does appear like. So whether it be true or not, he didn't want it out there, and he didn't want them going forward. That's evident. Yeah. That's evident with the lawyer, I think, and all involved.
I think so.
Yeah. Because on the other side, there's plenty of situations where victims do not want anything out there, because in all types of cases like this, the odds are that they aren't reported and they aren't talked about. It's much heavier in the percentage that it's kept quiet by the victim themselves. So, but we don't know why. So we can't. Really say. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Especially when that person is an actual victim. In this case, he wasn't a victim. He was we're just using the word victim here, but he
Right.
wasn't a victim. He was, paid money, and what was it, £35,000 over 3 years?
Yes.
That's not a lot.
No.
Not for someone working at the BBC at that kind of high level. Is
are there things in regards to his age and all that even without him claiming that even if he said he willingly did anything for whatever for the money, I mean, we're just talking the law there in the UK. I'm not saying that this is what happened in this case. But say he did want pictures of the young man and he willingly did send them over. Can in the UK, like here in America, the state or the government actually press charges without the victim statement?
Well, you probably could press charges, but under what law? I'm not even too sure
No,
what it is.
well, in there, your legal consent is 16, but inappropriate, the passing of inappropriate pictures is 18, actually. You have laws that actually interfere.
Is it?
Yeah. There were some other cases that I had seen in the past. I don't know where it is right now. I will say I don't know exactly right now where that law is. But a year ago, I followed a case to where a 16-year-old after her 16th birthday, got into a relationship with someone halfway, like she was like 16 in 6 months. And there was pictures passed back and forth, and the parents came forward, and that person who received those pictures and that was used in a group or something actually did get charges on them, even though the person willingly did it and was of legal consent to be in a relationship. They weren't legally in a consent able to pass around pictures like that.
Well, it's interesting that the police said themselves that there's no criminal activity. So
that's right. Yeah, like I said, it's not related to this case. I'm just curious about the law because I get curious about that.
Yeah, you have to ask the police, not me.
Well, okay.
What do I know?
We don't know.
But yeah, it's interesting. Did he do something wrong? No. Should he have done it? No, not really. He shouldn't have done that, mate. But but it's like, what else? Why is it all those other names you mentioned earlier were quick to jump and say, "Well, it wasn't me"? What do you mean it wasn't? So why did he say that?
Only because like when they say an unknown, an unknown, and they're all going like, well, that's the profession I do. They might think it's me. So everybody jumped on that.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, nope, not me, not me, not me.
Well, earlier in the article, it did say that there was speculation going on on social media, like there always is, because you have your armchair detectives and
right, and they need their reputation. It's how they get hired,
exactly. So they do need, and so they do want to nip that in the bud because, of course, you know how people are. They're gonna send you nasty messages like that, on social media because people are on there. They're not like they are in public. So, it's kind of like they'll send any old message, and whether it's, they'll threaten you, they'll tell you all kinds of stupid crap. And people don't want that harassment. And I can see why it wasn't me,
See, the thing is, this is not the first time this has happened within the BBC. We had the guy's name just slips my mind. Someone's going to chat. PJ's going to know who it was.
Jimmy Savile?
No, not Jimmy Savile. No, nothing to do with him. He was a real fucking nasty piece of work.
But they hid it for so long. It's not like they didn't know. Like, that was gross.
Yeah, well, Well, you got to be careful about saying accusations like that, whether they're hid or not. But besides that, we had this guy, a BBC presenter, and a story ran in the paper about him having a huge, multiple prostitute, cocaine, massive, party, and he got taken off the show. We had another sports presenter another sports presenter who was apparently reported having cocaine sex dens, and we had a Blue Peter presenter getting not Richard Bacon. Was that the Blue Peter guy? Yeah. There's people coming in the chat with all these different things. It happens loads of times, and it's almost like, well, they weren't doing it on the telly. They weren't doing it during broadcast. Are you allowed? It's like, whether you're taking a moral stance on it or not, it's just like, well, aren't you allowed to just go off and fucking party the way you want to party once you're off the air? Kind of. It's a tricky, you know. It's people were complaining that Huw Edwards was the one that announced that the Queen had died, and it's like, oh, he shouldn't have done that because he was off sending pictures with children and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, does it matter? This is the question.
Yeah, that is a good question, whether it matters or not. I'm sure according to the company, they don't want, they don't want that reputation laid on them. And I can understand that because they're the face of BBC when they're presenting the news. And, well, it's even the same way when I was working at the credit union. When I was the receptionist there, I was the one who collected the tax payments. If I'm sitting there and I'm, swearing and yelling and just being obnoxious in there when people walk in, I'm the face of the credit union that they would first see. That gives them, oh, I don't want to come here because this is how they allow their employees to act, and this is how their employees present themselves at this place. I don't want to be here. But if I present a professional, nice, calm face and I'm very nice, then yeah, they'll,
yeah, but that's when you're on the
whether
desk.
it's right, exactly. But when he's on the desk too, and even though he's not always on the desk and not always
he's still
representing him, he still represents them, and people see them as that. It's a perception
when he's out there. And so people do have a right to question it, and they should have investigated it. But my concern now is what happens to the son? There's obviously false reporting going on, or the people that brought false claims against him. Like, that's what's got to be prevented, because you want the broadcasting agency to investigate things like this. We don't want another situation like some in the past, and people have a right to not want to support somebody that they think are doing something that is really wrong against children or abhorrent in some way. I mean, we wouldn't want to be listening to the news from a mass murderer or someone like that. And so definitely not anyone taking advantage of others. Not that he did that. They did right to investigate it and ask him not to be on the air because they don't want it to look like they support that. They've got a big issue from the past to where they have to go over that, okay? And whether it was something that was intentional or not, it went on for a long time, and when it all came out, they looked really, really bad. So I understand why legally they would be protecting themselves by checking it out first. And it's unfortunate for Mr. Edwards that it took him off the air and it made it look a little bad. But if you're innocent and, these people are going to be bad and say stuff like that, what happens now is what matters. Whether to push back against people coming forward to damage others in that way when it's absolutely not true. That's what we have to firm up in our laws in what we do. Not so much how the BBC handled it, actually.
Exactly. And it does, even on off times when I would see someone from the credit union, I always made sure that I was very nice and outgoing and still represented the company, even though I was off the clock, because even then, these are the people they hire. I don't want to be here. I don't want to associate with them, and you lose business that way, right or wrong. It is what happens, and
it's their reputation. If Airwood, granted, this one, there's nothing to it, and it's perceived that he's innocent and nothing happened. But if it was the other way, and they did not act this way, they would then have the reputation that they didn't do enough about it, that they didn't take it seriously, that he still was allowed to make money for them while they knew about it. And I don't think they want that out there either. It's like a catch-22. That's why I say it's more important what happens now to those that brought false allegations or something like The Sun. Like everybody reads The Sun. It's like a trash supermarket magazine would be the comparison here, like the Inquirer here in America, right, Amy? Like it's like that. And I guess it matters now how much people will actually buy into that, or whether they'll start looking at it closely, or if there's any legal ramifications that can be done against them.
Exactly.
I'd be looking at my reputation. Somebody said all that stuff and it wasn't true,
Yeah. I mean, the Sun in Canada, in Toronto anyway, back in the 90s and into the 2000s, they always had like their topless girl in the weekend edition. That's the kind of newspaper it was, right?
Right.
Yeah, so did our Sun. And of course, if you're a newsreader, make sure you don't look at those nipples, because the Sun will write about that and say, "Oh, newsreader looks at nipples in the Sun," and you'll be cancelled.
Yeah, true. they put it out there just to get you. Yeah. We're lucky. Here in the National Enquirer, it's all about sleeping with aliens and, who's having what, like 3-headed baby. So, like,
are you allowed to do that? Have sex with aliens?
I don't know. According to the National Enquirer, it happens all the time. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. That and Bat Boy was in the World Weekly News or whatever that was called. Yeah. We got a donation in from Aussie T. Thank you so much for the Boom Boom Fund. That was for Canadian $17.17. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support, and that will go directly to that. Thank you very much. All right. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Was it illegal? No. Was it probably not ethical?
Yeah, what's going on with those parents? Are they just upset that that's how the kid made enough money not to be independent from them, or what? Or do they actually have a moral issue with what was going on between the two of them? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's an interesting case. It's a very interesting case, and it's...
Well, all that comes out of it is one person has had his career destroyed.
Yep.
True. Well, that person is old enough to know. Well, I mean,
you are responsible for your own actions, and I've said this 1,000 times before. Nobody else is responsible for your behaviors. Only you yourself are responsible for what you do. If you do something wrong, you do something wrong, and if you get punished for it, well, those are the consequences you have to take. You're not free from consequences just because you either have an illness or you have, any other excuse under the sun. You did it. I'm sorry. Yeah, your reputation is ruined now, but you should have thought of that prior to doing those behaviors that you did.
I have a question, though. To me, it wasn't that clear, or I didn't catch it. There was money. There was a lot amount of money exchanged, right? From
£35,000
from an older man to a younger person. Did it say in there what he said the reason was, or what he and his wife are saying that the reason was the money was exchanged?
I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, allegedly it was for sending pictures, but that seems a reasonable. It probably was sending pictures, and and he was just sending him money. So,
people still might have an issue about that, because here's the thing, and I'm not going to say that it's a big deal or he did anything really wrong if the child. Well, I'm not even going to say a child because he's old enough, okay? But there is a lot of years difference between that, and I do also have this thing about, like, when you're so much older than the other person, in regards to what actually indicates consent at a certain age for these kinds of acts in reputation. And I know that's a sticky wicket and not something we want to get into on this show, but that also might be where some people are coming from, going, maybe he did say okay, but he is only 16, 17, 18 years old.
And it is very creepy.
Not only the age, yes, it's creepy. I didn't want to come out slamming, but yeah, it's pretty creepy. It's real creepy. We'll say that. Plus, this is a person of authority. Whether you don't, yes, he's not the president. No, he's not. But he's on TV, right? And you've got a younger mind. And this is where I think the laws of consent and whether legality and the right. But what I do know is that for me, for my boundaries and my lines, that's hella creepy, and he shouldn't have crossed that.
Is it any different to like an 80-year-old actor marrying an 18-year-old young girl?
Don't even want to ask me about that. It is. But I also think that 18-year-old is like trying to do it for advances. Like, I don't think she's like thinking it's love either. Okay. So just because she's a little evil herself and just waiting for, I'll just be honest, I think she's just waiting for him to crack over and she's looking for some gain. Okay. I don't think that's right either. That's a boundary for me too. I call that hella creepy on both sides. On both sides.
Yeah.
Although I can see why the 80-year-old's doing it. It just makes him feel a little more alive, and it's the F you to the world. Like, look what I got. Yeah, it's like, look what I got,
We got Benjamin in the chat there. Just slow your roll a second. Holy fuck,
How
dude.
about not
really?
even slow your roll? How about like get the hell out of here?
Yeah.
Just there's a door over there. Take it.
Yeah, well, I just did. I just timed them out. So first offense, second one, you're banned. You know, we don't need spam or anything like that in the chat. Bye bye.
It's kind of interesting them telling us to shut up. You know, when
Exactly.
you can click away.
Yeah, you don't have to listen. They came back on their other sock. Look at that. Yeah.
Oh, bless them.
Thanks,
bye
PJ.
Bye. Yes, thank you, PJ. Bye bye. All right.
Holy wow.
I know the ridiculousness we have to deal with. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Fuck them. I hit them. Yeah. So I'm not dealing with people's crap today. Thank you. Bye bye. So yeah. All right. Well, let's.
It just shows you that if those allegations, well, some of it's false and some of it's not, because if there was money and there were pictures, what people were concerned about is there. Well, maybe the parents, they're not really doing false allegations if this happened. It's just a matter of whether it's legal or not, or the right thing. And people do get to weigh in, even if it wasn't illegal. They do get to weigh in on the situation and what the purpose was. And why did he need pictures of a young man? Are we missing the point here? Like, why?
I cannot answer that because it just I can't. It's like I'm a parent. I can't. It's just,
and I am too, and I might be looking at it a little bit differently. I am completely grossed out by it. I can see why people. And if his reputation took a hit, well, it might not be illegal, but it is something you did, and you are going to own the consequences for it, because we're all allowed to feel the way we want, Mr. Edwards.
Agreed.
About it. And I'm sorry you were in the hospital and can't speak for yourself, and then people are trying to make it like it was more than one incident or making it bigger than it was, but it's still hella creepy as far as I'm concerned. Check yourself, please. And wife that's supporting you, well, I'm glad you're okay with it or whatever, but no, I don't want you to ask anyone of that age for anyone I know for pictures and stuff, but you're right. The young man is not supporting that anything was done wrong, so legally, but that might not be the issue. Reputation's the issue here, and that's the consequence he's going to pay for it. So is the son really wrong for putting it out there?
Yes.
Well, maybe for the way they sensationalized it, but they didn't tell not the truth.
It sold newspapers. No, they did tell not the truth. That's exactly what happened. They told
no, the kernel. There was a kernel of truth in there. Money exchanged hands for pictures.
Yeah, but the print and the papers. Yeah, it was all just shred of lies.
True, but
the problem with this is this encourages them just to go around just looking for dirt on anybody.
Yes,
which in many ways is none of anybody's fucking business. I mean, this was reported to the BBC. The BBC were investigating it and looking into it, and they would have dealt with it. But the fact it didn't need to be dragged through the papers and people. It's not just Huw Edwards; his family have got to deal with this now. There's a whole load of things going on there. It didn't need to happen.
Well, in this case,
this encourages them just to be shitty on people.
How old is this young man actually?
I think he's 20 now.
Okay, he's in his 20s. That's a different thing. I agree with you.
When
he's 20.
17.
Okay, well then I still have an issue with it, because I still think because he's older and he's from an authority figure and he's asking for this. Yes, he's not touching him. He's not doing anything like that, but I still think there's a line.
I'm not saying you should have an issue with it. I'm just saying it was not necessary for the entire fucking world to know about it and be dragged out and put a whole lot of people in misery.
That may be true, but when you're a public personality, it's bound to come out. That's just
true. And some people would say that by putting it out there, they're preventing him from advancing in his derelictness and putting at risk population in danger.
Was he going to do that?
We don't know that though, but that would be the reason. That would be one reason that people would want it out there, to prevent that from happening. Because now we're going to get into the subject of that we don't really maybe want to have a whole show on of maps and whether that's dangerous or not, just because they don't progress or they haven't yet or they didn't do anything.
You're getting into the areas of precognitive,
well, he didn't
activity.
paper those pictures just because he was trying to help the man out. He was getting a gratification from it. If we're going to deny that fact,
we don't know that. You can't say that because you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you're imposing your opinion on it. That's fine.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I think that the way I looked at it was probably the way the masses were looking at it when they went for him. Because that's how I see it. If you wanted those kind of pictures and he was willing to pay for it, and you went to a 17-year-old man to get them, then yeah, that is pretty much what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I wouldn't be watching him on TV ever again when that comes out. So, a lot of people feel that way. 17 is just, I'm sorry if the law says it's okay. If you're like an old dude and you're talking about a 17-year-old, there's just, it's just too, like it was said, creepy. It's, when whether or not it was in person or whatever, if we're talking just about, the trading of pictures and whatnot, we're also talking about money. This is like pretty close to like prostitution issues and stuff at 17 years old, somehow blanketed by a thing that makes it kind of legal. That's creepy to me, man. Fuck him.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I don't kink shame when it doesn't hurt others. But because this was a person of not of legal age, to me, that is an at-risk population, and that's where I have issues. That's where I have issues. And there's no doubt that this was an influential person because he was on TV. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so there's a disruption in the power authority in the levels of power between the two people, which makes consent an iffy subject for me. I don't know. I got feels on it. I'm sorry. That's how it looks to me.
He was a newsreader. We don't like put newsreaders on pedestals like they do news anchors in America. He was
Maybe
just a
not,
newsreader.
But you cannot deny that there was a difference in power level there. Even just in the age alone, it exists, Donk. That exists. The difference in power there exists. Mm-hmm. The difference in the ability to look at the situation as a whole and foresee it for the proof. And also, there was only one side. Well,
the problem is you're filling in too many of the gaps you don't even know. So
I'm just looking at the simple facts: money, pictures, person in authority, child of the age of 17. That's really, you can't deny any of those. Yeah, I'm filling in all the things with how I feel about all four of those situations, and I will admit that. But those exist. He exchanged money for pictures to a minor. Mm-hmm. Now, for the purpose, you're gonna say, I don't know for sure that they were for gratification purchase or some kind of kink or whatever. But if you can come up with another one, I'll listen. Was he starting a sports magazine for tidy whities?
True. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm being. I hear what you're saying, Donk, but I'm not going to cross the line and admit I'm being unreasonable because I really don't think I am.
No, because past experiences would say that if someone is buying questionable pictures from someone, and for that amount of money, it's usually
I'm open. I'm open. Tell me some of the other reasons that a full-grown man of his age, married, needs pictures like that of a 17-year-old and is willing to pay quite a price for them.
Wanky, wanky, spanky, spanky.
That's what I was just saying. And it's true. I mean, that might not be the case, but that's so rare that it's most experiences will tell you that that's what it is, because that's what most people would do. Mm-hmm. It's behavior.
And you know what? And I've got I got no no problem with picture wanking in general. Seriously, that's not what I'm saying. 17 years old is what I'm saying. At-risk population is what I'm saying. So let's be clear. talking about the difference in the power structure here, in that was still a minor in some cases, especially for the pitcher end of it in the UK. And I do think that that's an issue.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, the power dynamics is an issue. It doesn't even matter if the person is a famous person or not.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just the age, someone who is older is still perceived as someone who is an authority. You get into that power dynamic and especially that 17 to however old Huw is. Yeah, at 17, yeah, you're still seeing adults. You're still not.
And I'm not gonna. It does happen all the time, and there's actually a market for it. People do it all the time. At 17, can he willingly do it? Yes, legally, he's over the age of 16 in the UK. He's considered an adult. He could, and that's why when the parents came forward, because as a parent, I think I'm understanding why they did come forward, and why they wanted it known. Okay. Because they just decided it was creepy and that their child may be taken advantage of, even though now the child is saying, with the benefit of all that money and not being harmed, actually being benefit by having the money and this and that, is sticking that nothing really bad happened. It's just fine. But missing the whole issue that the parent was like, wow, you contacted my child when he was a minor and sent him money for a picture, and that's just hella creepy and wrong, and I don't like it. And now they're trying to do, I mean, that could be one angle. They could be just out for the money to shut them up, like just to get money, just to not talk about it, because they wanted money. They don't want to, they were threatening this guy's reputation or whatever, and they wanted them to pay him off, and maybe he refused. I mean, there could be that too. But I'm kind of seeing it a little broader than just a simple, I do agree the son was wrong in how they ran with it the way they did with all the details, but I'm not going to go so far as to say there was nothing there.
I won't say there's nothing there, but I think it was blown up out of proportion.
Yes,
I don't think they reported it as correctly as they like to say they did.
Yeah, they don't report
especially
over
when
there.
the lawyer,
The Sun doesn't report. They sensationalize. Period.
Exactly,
they don't
because
report.
they're Inquirer standard paper.
But I get Duncan's point. I do. I do, and I support it. There's not an actual real, or what we say the word victim, but we can't actually say it's victimless either if it started at 17, which is the issue for me. If it was a 20-year-old lady, I'm still going yuck, but I'm not, to each his own. He's not really an at-risk population at 20 as much. I don't like the idea of the differences in ages, but hey, it happens all the time. I mean, myself, a younger person, sure. What are you going to do? Your heart wants what your heart wants, and your body, I can get it. But when you're legal adult, you can make your own
adults,
choices. Right.
That's exactly it. Between consenting relationships between two consenting adults is nobody else's business. This is a little bit young. 17 is just like, I'm struggling with it. I am struggling with it. Whether, it was as bad as they say, or it was a mild thing, quote unquote mild. It's just, it's just not quite there. An adult, they're not really an adult, and they've come out with research saying about brain development not being quite fully done until you're 25.
Exactly.
So, there's that too. And granted, there are very, very mature young people out there who probably have had their brains develop very quickly, and others do not. And 17 just as, to me, is not quite there yet. Especially as a mom of a child who's turning 18 this summer.
Here in America, it's 17. Kind of in some instances, the parents are still responsible for the actions of them. So I understand why they're weighing in. Like, I don't know how it is in the UK, but to them, they're still looking at it that was their child. And I mean, I don't think anyone acted correctly here, except for the BBC trying to investigate it without hurting the reputation, but still protecting their reputation and making sure there wasn't anything there. I'd actually say that timeline went very well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Greg, I do too. I do. Yeah. But you're not going to like the next one either, I can assure you, because it's worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Now I don't even know if I want to talk about that one, Amy, because it's so bad. It's so bad.
I know, and we do have to
Well-
get to that really fast before
Yes,
we get to 20 minutes, and then what we'll do is we'll just kind of just close out the show and not do too much on
That's it.
Yeah.
It's pretty short, so I
Yeah.
can
If you want to go ahead and read that one too, we'll let you go through all of that and tell us what's going on with that story if you'd like.
Oh, I didn't even bring up that. Oh, hold on. I gotta find
Okay,
the
sure.
article. You want me to
Sure.
read that article? Okay.
Sure.
How about you read the article and I'll fill in the details for you when you're done, since I
Absolutely. How's
Okay.
that sound?
That
we've
sounds
got
fine. Yeah.
Uncalled for links. So we've got it's the trace. Is that the one or is it
I thought it was a
no.
Newsweek article, or was it?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
I've got it. Okay. So this is a hard case too. And this is really sad. And this bothers me a lot too. Okay. So this is from Newsweek. All right. And it says, so brace yourselves, everybody. Last news story of the night. We've got stop video. There we go. We've got autopsy photos of murdered boy Gannon Stauch sold by YouTuber. Disgusting. Okay. I know. So here we go. Deep breaths, everybody. Okay. A YouTuber has been condemned by a News Nation host for creating a video highlighting the autopsy photos of murdered Colorado boy Gannon Stauch. Gannon, 11, was killed by his stepmother, Letitia Stauch, in January of 2020. In May of this year, she was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole on 2 counts of murder. During the trial, prosecutors said Letitia Stauch stabbed her stepson 18 times and shot him. Gannon died from a gunshot wound and skull fracture. The prosecution lawyers said that Letitia Stauch drove the boy's body to an area off of Colorado Highway 105 and South Perry Park Road and dumped it before later driving it to Florida. News Nation host Brian Enton said that he was sensitive to individuals who took advantage of grieving families for personal gain. He accused true crime YouTuber Zavgirl for doing just that. Newsweek has contacted Zavgirl via email for comment. Enton added that the YouTuber was selling the photos of Stauch's autopsy as she had made a video for her Patreon subscribers that showed the images. That's disgusting and shouldn't be done. Zavgirl has argued against this claim in a message that she posted on her channel on Tuesday. She said she was not selling the individual photos of Stauch, but uploaded a full video only accessible by her Patreon followers. It focused on the photos as well as audio from the homicide trial. Patreon allows people to subscribe to individuals for a monthly fee to view content a creator may not necessarily post on their public YouTube page. I understand some of you have issues with me charging money on my Patreon for the video. If I was charging money for the autopsy files alone or something like that, I think I'd see your point, Zavgirl said in her message. But in this case, I spend a lot of time and working hard putting together a video lining up the coroner's audio and descriptions along with the appropriate part of the photos she is describing and editing it together to try to make it as informative as possible for the viewer. The viewer doesn't need to know, but that's my opinion anyway.
That's goth, nasty, death, fucking porn, weird shit. Fuck, what the hell?
Just totally devoid of all.
It's totally
fortitude.
Inappropriate. It's a fucking 11-year-old. Fuck off with that shit. Gross.
Yeah.
Just,
it gets worse. It gets worse.
Yeah. So let's keep going. On Tuesday, Enton shared clips on his Twitter page of his on-air reaction to the autopsy controversy. He dismissed the YouTuber statement as well as her decision to share the autopsy photos. The News Nation journalist said that he took personal offense and found Zavgirl's actions sick. For some reason, Zavgirl thought it would be a good idea to put in a Freedom of Information request for little 11-year-old Gannon's autopsy photos, and they actually released the photos to her, Enton said. She had to pay, and they released the photos to her, and she got them, and you can just imagine, based on the description of how that little boy was killed, what they look like. Zavgirl then proceeded to post them on her Patreon account, an account attached to her YouTube page, and she charged her followers money to see the autopsy photos, Enton added. For $3, you could see little Gannon's body. She was making money off of that little boy's autopsy photos. Autopsy photos of a severely beaten little boy, really. It has just got no place on the internet. This is awful, and I'm having a hard time reading this. This is just
You can stop, Amy. I don't want to torture you with it.
Thank you. It's
yeah,
disgusting. It's a fucking kid.
I just want to add a few things to that. Brian Antin is from News Nation, and he was one of the journalists who actually followed this case of Letitia Stauch from the beginning. It took years. The crime itself happened in 2020. It should be noted that Zav Girl is acting as if she was giving information that was new and something to, help with the case. But, I myself cover true crime and felt the need to actually speak out on this because it's not how things are done. For one, that case was settled, sentence rendered in May. She did this at the end of June and early July. She had sent in a full records request, not just for the autopsy. For all that, I will defend her. That's done in true crime all the time. What we don't do is sensationalize the victims, okay? Gannon Stauch is a victim. He's 11 years old. Gannon Stauch's family were victimized by this crime and just went through a horrific trial. They got justice in May. And what happened, what Zav Girl actually did for her own profit was re-victimize Gannon and his family. And that's where the outcry from the community itself is coming from, and everybody who hears about that. I can see how grossed out everybody is in the chat. I'm sorry, but it had to be talked about because we could not let that slide. We could not act like that's acceptable, that everybody who reports on true crime or covers it, the journalists and everybody. As an example, the video that I dropped the link on there, you're going to hear quotes from the family, but not only that, you're going to hear it from the prosecutor of the case who said, this is just going too far. This is just ridiculous. This is closed. It's not even like there's any doubt. This woman confessed to those crimes and just pled, for reason of insanity. She's already been fully sentenced. Why did you have to make a video just on the autopsy? What doubt is there? What doubt was there? If you're going to actually say that you did that for anything other than sensationalism and profit on a case that's already solved, and you're not acting like that's how you did it, I'm sorry, I can't stick up for Zav Girl. Even though when I made my video, she hadn't apologized yet. Before that, she put this big long post on her channel, which is now deleted, backing up what she did, saying the true crime community does this all the time. She didn't do anything wrong. It was informative. It was this. It was that.
Oh, it wasn't.
And that she's desensitized to this kind of stuff. And maybe we all should be too, because she deals with true crime. I mean, she really went too far. She went so far that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of comments on that post, and none of them supported her.
Yeah.
None of them. Okay. So I don't even do video, and I got a 10-minute video out on it. And it wasn't for the money of it. It was for the disgust that I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I got more DMs and more questions in regards to this than anything I've done in 2 years on YouTube. And it's just appalling. Like, where do we draw the line? And then everybody's asking me, well, what do we do about it? Like, what do we do about it? Well, they do have a petition, and it's being signed by a lot. And there are some states that actually already prohibit this. And I explained that in the video. There was a lot of bad information out there. Where did she get the autopsy report, pictures and photos? Because, the body was dropped in Florida, and that's where it was discovered. So the autopsy was done in Florida. However, the court case itself was held in Colorado, where the crime was committed and where they lived. So
I was going to ask where the hell did she get the pictures in the first place?
Yeah, she did. She did a regular file request for the whole records in Colorado, but that believes in transparency, and you can get the whole court file, and they were included in there, but they were unredacted. She's trying to say that these pictures were out there before because the court case was televised. Yes, it was. I mean, not televised, but cameras. And we were allowed. There were YouTubers out there that had the court case out, and we were watching it as it happened. But we didn't see them unredacted. No one ever saw those autopsy pictures unredacted prior. Okay.
No one needs to see them.
Right.
That's not a need to know. That's not on a need to know basis. That's just disgusting.
Right. In Florida recently, they had actually put in an actual exemption to the FOIA request laws that say children's autopsy photos will not be included. They are protected, as they should be. And in my video, there's a link actually to an actual petition to do that statewide everywhere here in America, because there are certain states that don't have that yet. And when you ask for the whole record, you will get them. But there's no need to have these young children, these parents having to be victimized over and over again. Because now that she did this, and she kind of said she's sorry after, like, it came out after I did my video. In my video, I'm pleading for her to at least get a clue, read what everybody's saying about you, and just stop, drop, listen, and like relook at your motives in what was going on here, and at least apologize to the family, which she hadn't done yet. Now she has, but if you watch her video, she's rolling her eyes. She's still standing with the fact that it really wasn't that bad. I could have put it on YouTube and made a whole lot more money. No, you couldn't. It would have got pulled down, just like Patreon canceled your Patreon account because of what you did. You wouldn't have a YouTube channel if you put it on YouTube. The outcry would have been the same. Yeah,
because it's disgusting. And I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says. You don't need to know exactly what happened to the little boy. All you need to know is that it did happen. It was horrible. It's horrific. No one needs to see that fucking garbage. And it's just fucking nasty. I'm sorry. It just makes me angry. You don't even need to know you don't even need to know the particulars. It's not your fucking business. It's a kid who got killed. And I'm a mother. And so, of course, yes, I'm freaking angry. And it makes me angry that people do this shit. They make money off of a goddamn kid who was hurt. You know, it's just gross.
And it does make it very difficult for the true crime community, because we do all support FOIA and the ability to look at court cases. I read legal documents every day. I'm reading court cases every day. I want to continue doing that. But I've got my line. I got my boundary. I'm not going to cross it. This makes it difficult for us now to do that, because this kind of shit happens. They're going to close everything down. How are we going to have open courtrooms with cameras that we can see what's going on when they can't trust that somebody's going to do crap like this, you know, and hurt people
for stuff that you don't need to see. You can see the court case all day, the paperwork, you know, the court filings. Those are actually quite interesting to read. Yeah, go for it. Do those all day long, but you do not need to see anything that ever happened to that child or any other victim. It's just not necessary.
True. Gross. And even if it's just like not even a child, for the autopsy and all of that on the victim and the families and those that survived, what purpose does that serve out here? Like, really?
None. It serves nothing. It doesn't serve anything. The only thing it does is it just helps sensationalize it, and it's just and there are nasty people out there who like that sort of stuff, you know, and that's just disgusting. No,
that's how I answer to those that are saying it's a witch hunt and then we're all piling on. No, it's not, because if anyone watches my channel, I don't mention other YouTubers' channel. I don't care what they do. They could be the worst person in the world, and I don't feel it's appropriate to mention their name and attack them in certain way. But I didn't protect the names in the video that I did because it was out there already. It was obvious who I was talking about. And it actually needed the documentation of their own posts, that they were denying what they did, but like trying to like delete stuff, even though it was still out there. There's one of them, the other one, Natasha Cooper, is trying to say she didn't do it. And yet she's got a post on her YouTube channel right now saying, join my Patreon to see these files and look at the autopsy photos. And it says autopsy photos in her post, and yet she's doing lives saying that's not what happened. I'm like, well, sorry, boo-boo, but like, you know, here's your words. Here's what you did.
Do you think this is a situation where things might actually get worse, and you'll have channels competing with each other, trying to get more and more autopsy?
Well, that's what happened if she got away with it. That's why I said something, Dunk, because that's my fear. That like because we don't do anything about it, it will actually become a thing. And God, would that be? I just don't know. Like, that would be horrible. And so that is why many people are speaking out from many different communities about it. And it's not about being a witch hunt or that anybody's jealous of her channel. Like, they're actually saying that because like the smaller channels and legal channels are speaking out. They're just jealous that she could take such a critical view of it. And we're like, no, she's a non-sympathetic robot. That really, I don't want to listen to her then. If she doesn't have any feeling for the family about this, she only apologized after people had to remind her. And let me just say that there is a rumor, I'm not so sure yet, but they were trying to prove that she actually monetized her apology until she was told it was a bad look, and then it was not monetized, and then she did another thing to try to prove that it wasn't. But I don't know it. But I don't know necessarily. I will give her the benefit of the doubt that, because I can't really. What can you do to prove whether it was monetized in the beginning and then she pulled it back? Like, no, that just may be people just trying to make the situation worse. I'm not sure about that. But someone did say they had a conversation with her and that she had to be told that was a bad look to monetize the video. So I don't know if she actually did, if she didn't do it to start, or she did it in the start and then stopped. But
Disgusting.
I mean, we all are out here making money on true crime. You got a YouTube channel and you're monetized, you're making money on true crime. You're making money somehow on something horrible that happened to somebody. I'm not blind to that issue. And I realize it does seem a little hypocritical to even speak on it if you're in the true crime community, but I say not in some ways, because we all have our boundaries and lines and we all are dealing with them every day. And I don't feel I'm being a hypocrite to call her out on this, because it's not something I would ever think of doing or support any other true crime person doing or anyone doing.
Well,
Yeah.
Gross. I'm sorry, but I still stand by what I said too. And it's just freaking nasty. No one needs to see that. Yeah, you can search stuff online and find nasty stuff online, but you don't have to contribute to that. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and it's not a need to know thing. No one needs to see that. And especially if you do it just to make money, that makes you an even worse pig than the people who put out other stuff online about stuff like that.
Exactly.
Just because lemmings jump off a bridge doesn't mean you have to too.
True. And there was plenty of ways to put out other information. She didn't have to do it on that. She was looking to, as I said, make a name and have something that somebody else didn't have, put out something in a different way that nobody else had. And now she's got that. It's just not the name she wanted or the reputation that goes with it. She's going to get slammed hard. I mean, she had every right to she did nothing illegal by requesting those records.
Nope.
Nothing illegal happened in the transfer of those records.
Nope.
But the common sense that if you did get unredacted autopsy photos, had you redacted them, there would be less of an outcry. I tell you that. Okay, if you had made some effort, I still wouldn't have been happy with the video, but that's her choice. But, just because they gave her defense was, well, they sent them to me. It must be okay. No. No.
Yeah.
Well, that was what kept me busy all week. This has been going on for a little while. It's been a little crazy, and I'll probably get heat for it anyway for speaking out. But I really do want to see the law change to protect the ones that can't protect themselves, and that is victims under the age of legal that have these things happen, that don't want to see families get re-victimized again, because now that's out there. Even though Patreon canceled her video, those pictures are out there now, and that family has to deal with that. They're going to come up. That family has other children, younger, that are going to see that someday. The internet's forever, and there was more damage here done than good. And she's going to have to own up to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just so many shades of wrong that it's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's and the excuses that were given, well, they sent it to me. Yeah, well, if someone sends you a bag of dog poop, you supposed, so I lit it on fire.
Yeah, you don't serve it up for dinner.
Yeah, well, that's it,
She chose to be semantical and say, but I didn't sell individual pictures for $3 each. Like, that's not what happened. I let people look at my video for pay.
Did you sign them?
No. That would have been a lynching, I think. But no, she made a video. And yes, we all do that for our Patreon members. We make special videos for them. They get something for being part of it. Nothing was wrong there. Creating content for your Patreon is not the issue. Charging people to see your content is not the issue. What your content was is the issue. You not seeing that and honoring that is the issue. But not the other. You know what I mean? It's like, because it was a minor and because of what she was putting out there on that minor. And let's not forget, the case was closed in May. Why now? If it's not for money and sensationalism, what is it for? There were no unanswered questions in that case.
Yeah, good point, right?
Well, that's it. What's the point of getting all of that when the case is already closed and has already been, adjudicated? She was sentenced.
Exactly.
She was already serving her sentence. You don't need the autopsy photos. I don't care what anybody says. You don't need that crap. And you don't need, especially, to air it. And you don't need to make people pay for it. That's just gross. And I'm more than entitled to my opinion on that. I don't care what anybody says. It's just nasty. You don't do that. And yes, there are death pictures on the internet. I've seen that fly by a couple times, and you don't need to contribute to it. You don't. You just, and not only that, and if you do it in such a cold and uncaring manner, what are you doing to these families just so you can make money? None of what she did was illegal, but could it be considered unethical? Probably.
Well, it's one of these stories that's really sorry. It's one of these stories that's really hard to put a positive spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Well, I mean is
there isn't one.
No, actually, there is one. I can see one. Go ahead.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Don't go ahead.
No, go ahead, Claire. No, you sort of caught on. You caught the hook. If there is a positive one,
there is a positive. Everyone united to say we need to do better to protect the victims in cases like this. That we all have a right for transparency. We believe in FOIA and the disclosure of the records. But when it comes to minors, I'm actually happy to sign that petition that's going around that says that all of the states in the United States should have the same exemptions that Florida has right now, that they did put into law in May, was signed by DeSantis, and was unanimously voted in by their legislation in April to protect the autopsy photos from being released in FOIA requests or any kind of request to the general public of minors. And I signed it. And I'm circulating it. It's on my YouTube tab. It's in my video, and I'm going to continue talking about it. It united the true crime community, the majority. I'd say there's still others out there saying that transparency is transparency and we can't make exceptions. But no, I'm thinking the opposite, because to me, it's an at-risk population, and they're the ones we do need to protect, to not let them be re-victimized. Yes, Gannon got his justice. That woman's in jail. That woman was evil. The family was in the healing process when this woman decided to go out and put this out there. She has disrupted that process all over again for them and re-victimized everybody involved, including the prosecutors and investigators in the case, who are all coming out against her, saying this is just horrible. So yeah, it united people on where are the lines. Where are the lines and the boundaries and what is acceptable, and we're not just going to ignore it. And I'm sorry that this person has to deal with it, but it was her actions. She chose to double down and stand behind what she did for the first few days, caused more of a problem for herself. Then she chose to put a very insincere apology out there. I don't know if it's her style or what, but it didn't hit well. Her failure to read the room is really making her consequences greater. I'll tell you that. But she's going to have to answer to it rightly. Okay? And I don't want her channel taken down. What I want is for her to do better. What I want is for her to join us and say it was wrong to cross that line.
Talking about crossing lines, Amy.
Yes.
We've crossed the line.
Oh, crossed it.
We sure have. So I do want to thank everyone for coming and for all the support and everything that you give. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you for all the interaction in the chat. It's been really wonderful. And I do want to thank, CF Beauty and all the mods in the chat for doing such a great job. Thank you so much. You guys do wonderful. I want to thank everyone in the panel for coming too. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. So on that note, I am going to wish everyone a great night. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, we're having a cage fight after this. Night.
Are we? Oh, God.
Good night.
Have fun. I'm out.
There we go.
Go home. Go.